Welcome to the Truer podcast. This episode is definitely for you if you have been feeling like you're in an in-between state, a stage of your becoming that is after some endings have occurred and before the new has begun, and you feel this strange inner incubation phase or inner shifting phase where there's things shifting inside your life, inside of yourself, or outside in your outer world. I think a lot of us are feeling this way, me included. I'm Katrina Slade. I am the host of the Truer podcast, and I am delighted to be here today to share with you messages from the year of the snake. I had a hard time deciding what title to give this because it's almost like messages from the snake, which is a very yin feminine energy. And it's also messages about the final shedding. I've been talking about the snake for a little while in some of these episodes and shedding of the skin. But there's something that needs to finally shed, this last completion before we step into the new. And the lunar new year is on February 17th, I think. It's coming up, and we're in this in-between state. So that's why I feel so called to share these messages with you today. Let's get right into it. These messages are going to help you shed that last bit of skin before the new. And in fact, these aren't so much messages as reflections. So there's a lot of reflection questions in this episode. And this is just what came to me when I was meditating. Before every episode, I meditate, I receive messages from the Akashic field. And that is how I receive all the guidance that I'm sharing with you. So let's get into these 3 reflection prompts that are going to help us enter the new era, this new phase of the fire horse, which I'm going to be talking about in next episode. But it's going to help us enter this with more clarity and more readiness. Okay, so reflection number 1. The year of the snake, let's just say the snake energy, wants you to reflect on how has this past year changed you? You can even imagine yourself in January 2025, a year ago. And if they got to see you now, what would they think? What would they be glad to see? What would they be surprised to see? My eyes are tearing up. This happens so often. I don't know why. It's just sort of like comes up when a ring of truth comes out. So imagine this 2025 January version of yourself. What would they be thinking of you now? What were they hoping for? If they could hope for the year ahead, what would they be hoping for? What were their goals? What did they want to let go of? We're talking about letting go, shedding, and letting go before the new. And what did they want to let go of at the start of all of this? And just reflecting on the difference between then and now. That's a really helpful practice to help you, I think, understand how far you've come and also understand that you're at another beginning where, well, I keep saying we're in the in between, but you're in between the old and the new. So you're going to have the next version of you, in January 2027 is going to be able to look back, see. And I think by that point, there's going to be a lot of changes because it's a fire horse year. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. I do plan on talking about that in next episode. So just noticing the difference between then and now and what comes up for you. This would be a great journaling prompt. I know that I said about 5 different questions, but basically it's what's the difference between then and now? And what would they think? That 2025 version of you, what would they think? And I was reminded at this point when I was meditating and receiving this guidance that the snake, I heard this recently, the snake must shed its skin. Like it can't choose to hold on to it because it will get infected and die. So imagine how this might apply to our life. That's just all very symbolic, talking about the snake, but bringing it back to us and our practical approach to this year. Imagine if you couldn't live. Imagine if you would die if you didn't shed what was outdated, what was old, or what was no longer alive in your life anymore. Think of dead skin. When dead skin builds up, it clogs up our system. It gets unhealthy. Sorry, this is a little gross. Keep talking about dead skin. But this is about the energies that are ready to be shed. Imagine you couldn't live if it would cause your bodily harm if you didn't shed those. And as I say that, I'm kind of thinking actually it does to some of us. Some of us hold on to certain energies for too long, and it does cause dis-ease and imbalance, which I've talked about before as well within my own experience. And then consider from this past 1 year ago self, what did you shed? What have you shed this past year? What old skin did you release? So we're sort of reflecting back and also considering moving forward. What do we need to shed? But also, what have we already shed? It's so easy to forget about it once it's done. But I know a lot of us have been through a very transformative year. And that's another way of saying a very difficult year with lots of changes. And I've been feeling called to talk about changes and talk about endings and talk about all this stuff because I know so many of us are going through it. And it's reflected in the outer world too. Have you noticed? Have you noticed a lot of stuff happening in the outer world? So, getting back to this message, the skin is the outward representation or the outward presentation of us, what the outside world sees. It's like when you say you're wearing a mask, like, oh, I had to wear a mask when I was a teacher in schools because I couldn't show my true vulnerable self to my students. I was sort of authentic, but I had to be a certain persona. I had to be Miss St. George. That was my name back then. And I had to show myself in a certain way with my mask. So think about this. What masks have you shed, or what energies that are old and outdated have you shed? Those could be beliefs, behaviors. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to keep spelling it out for you. So pause and reflect on that. It might be helpful to do that right now, or you can go to the show notes. All right, reflection number 2. The wood snake wants you to consider, what are the gifts in these changes? These changes are actually karmic and destined. It's part of your soul plan. So there are gifts in it. It's not haphazard. It's not chaotic for the sake of random chaos. They're happening for a reason. So if you can think about this past year and the changes that are happening now, if you can, it might be hard to see it in the moment if it's happening now. It takes some space and time to reflect back. But even if it's hard, the changes that are hard, there's growth and there's learning. That's often the richest, most impactful growth in the hard parts, right? And consider, what are the positive, impactful effects that these changes have had on your life? For me, it's been a year of letting go of old victim mentality. I guess I was like identifying as a victim because of several reasons. And I've really let that go. And that has been huge, but it forced me to face my shadows in that area. So it hasn't been easy, right? And I feel you. If you're going through this, I feel you. I really know. Also consider, can you see this as a point in your full journey, in your full soul's evolution. I can almost see it in several ways. I can see it as like the arc of your lifetime. You're at a certain point in this arc of your lifetime. And this phase might feel like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen, but you know it's leading you to what you're meant for. If you're intentional, if you're open, if you're surrendered, if you're willing to let go, even through the difficulties. I can also see it as an arc of your soul's evolution across multiple lifetimes. Your soul is wanting to learn and grow. And oftentimes it's like building up its experience and evolution across multiple lifetimes, just like we do in school. We go into kindergarten, we end up in grade 5, we end up in middle school, high school. Some of us go to college and university. It's a progression. So you're at that stage in a cycle of endings before the new. That's part of the progression, right? There's this idea to go along with this that I was shown that there's not a single you. Like for me, I'm 38-year-old Katrina. That's not really existing. It's more of like an ever evolving self. So I am all the versions of me, and you are all the versions of you. Your younger self, even your future self. It's all like in one somehow. It's hard for our human brains to comprehend this, but that's what I was shown. So consider that even if you're not where you want to be, know that it's possible and it will come to you. The next phase, the next season of your life, the next shift that is going to tip the scales in the direction you want. If you can trust and know that that's inevitable because I am approaching this with integrity, with self leadership. I am guiding myself through this. I'm not going to crumble into a heap and act like a victim. And let's be honest, that can happen sometimes because we're all human, but we can't stay there. Well, if you stay there, then you're not learning and growing and you're causing yourself more suffering. I know from experience, I have been there so many times. I actually was shown recently in a meditation just for myself that I was shown the term spiral of misery. And it's like I tend to get into, I guess, a downward spiral sometimes. And it causes so much misery because I'm sort of, I know this sounds weird, but I can be comfortable and familiar in that space because that's where I've been so much, many points in my life where I'm focusing on what's not correct. I'm focusing on what's wrong. I'm focusing on what I'm perceiving as wrong. I'm focusing on what doesn't feel good. And I'm just sort of like creating more and more of that. It's like being in a stew that's like simmering with that. And you're like, why am I feeling this way? It's because you're in the stew, the spiral of misery. And it can be, there's certainly outside influences, but a lot of it, at least in my case, I'm just going to speak for myself here. A lot of it can be self-inflicted because it's some kind of pattern that you somehow have attached your identity to. I should say me, I have somehow attached my identity to. And that's why I guess I mentioned earlier about trying or growing out of this tendency to be in victim mentality. That's something I've really noticed in myself in the past year. So, going back to this reflection about what are the gifts in these changes, you can recognize that the gifts are like nutrients in the soil for the next season. You know, we're planting seeds. This is a common metaphor we use. We plant seeds, plant our intentions for the next cycle, the next season ahead. I mean, the lunar new year, it's literally a new moon. That's when you plant seeds and new intentions. But imagine that the gifts that we have gleaned from this past cycle that we're kind of in between now, that's completed, those are like nutrients in the soil for the next season. They're going to enrich your next, whatever's next for you. So that's something to be grateful for, right? It makes me feel like really warm and fuzzy inside, thinking, oh, yeah, it wasn't for nothing. The hardships or going through the hurdles of life, it wasn't for nothing. It's for this reason. And it's going to impact positively in the future for you. All right. Reflection number 3. I was shown there's like the last bit of skin, and it might be like, I know this is a lot of skin talk, but like the snake shedding skin, either it sheds it all in one long piece, and the last bit needs to let go to leave it behind, that you don't want to drag it along. Or it could just be like a little piece of skin that's just a little bit needs to detach. So I guess it could be like the whole thing or a little bit. And this is in terms of what you're carrying with you, right? So, what's that last little bit of skin that you feel called to let go of before you enter the new? For me, I've become aware that there's a lot of anger and rage, sacred rage, that needs to be addressed in a safe way. So, I'm kind of focusing on that a little bit lately. I'm realizing, okay, that needs to be felt. So maybe it's a suppressed emotion or a suppressed thing that's causing your body imbalance or dis-ease or your emotional health. How can it be felt? You got to heal it. No, you got to feel it to heal it, right? So maybe you've been clinging on to suppressing emotions, or you're clinging on to an old identity that you don't even want anymore. I don't want to see myself as a victim because, oh, woe is me, and this is this way and that's that way. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to identify that way. So I'm not. And that's taken me a while to get there, but oh, I can finally say I'm there now. And I was shown a vision of this to help us understand. It's like taking your pants off, but they're still down at your ankles, and you're like trying to walk into your new life, your new season of life with these old pants kind of tripping you up. That's ridiculous, right? You don't want that. You don't want the old dragging you down or making it hard to move forward. So, yeah, this idea of forward momentum, you don't want anything to be an obstacle or to stop that. Once the fire horse comes, the year of the fire horse, it's going to feel fast. It's going to feel powerful. It's going to feel like a lot of new energy. And you don't want to be tripped up by the old, right? So imagine trying to leap forward into a new era with these pants tangling you down. You don't want that. So there's a ritual I can recommend for letting go. There's so many ways you can do this, but this is one of my favorite ways is just write a letter to the universe or to the old. Let's say in my case, I could write a letter to the identity of victim mentality or the identifying as a victim. I could write a letter to that energy, or I could write a letter to the universe. You can say something like, I'm ready to finally let go of blah, blah, blah. I'm open to the support of being shown how. So for all of us, I think it'll be different. I can't give advice now on this is exactly how you let go of that energy, but just having this ritual of like writing a letter, it's like declaring it. I think it helps to read it out loud as well because there's power in the vibrations of your spoken word. And it's a declaration, and it's almost like setting an intention of I'm ready to let this go and I'm open to receive the guidance. Not just I'm done with this, I'm over it, I'm breaking up with this energy, and show me the way, show me how. And then later on, you might suddenly have an intense desire to look up one particular thing and it'll lead you down this thing, and then you'll unlock something that has been wanting to be unlocked within you, right? Oh, I forgot to say, when you write the letter, say it out loud and then burn it. Burn it safely. Please be safe with this, but burn it safely, as the act of burning is an alchemy. It transmutes what was old and dense into the new. And the ashes of this, once they're cooled, they can be almost like a magic material, let's say. I like to, I don't want to hurt myself, so I don't do it while it's hot, but I collect the ashes or you burn it. Sometimes I used to go out to my backyard. There's like a little gravel driveway in that space in my old house. And I would kind of burn it in the inside of a metal bowl on the gravel. And then once the ashes were done burning and cool, I could dump it onto the gravel. And, once it rains, it'll be fine. But I would take my finger and smear the ash, and I would maybe anoint myself with it, like on my heart or on my third eye, my forehead. I would anoint myself with the ash, and it feels very powerful. So if that sparks something within you, then give it a try and let me know how it goes. And at this point, I was shown this idea of the phoenix. There's a lot of phoenix energy in this in between state. I'm really feeling like rising from the ashes vibes for us in this new era. And we're almost there. We're almost rising from the ashes of what has been shed. You can also think of shedding as like burning to the ground. Some things in our life have burnt to the ground, and we are rising from the ashes to go forward, more aligned, more attuned to our soul's destiny, our soul's path. So there's the whole idea of ashes is symbolically anointing yourself or using them in a ritualistic manner, whatever feels right for you. It feels like you might be feeling like part of you is dying. There's a spiritual death before the rebirth. It really feels like that for a lot of us. And I know it's not just me. I feel that way right now, not so intensely. I have had some very intense spiritual deaths and rebirths in the past decade or so, but it really feels like that for a lot of us. A lot of us who are awakening or who have awakened and who are aware and in touch with the energies. So think of this ash like you're rising from the ashes of your old self. It might be helpful at this time to try things that are related to the skin, like skincare, dry brushing. Dry brushing is a very ancient method to get the chi flowing in the body. And I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to describe it all, but you take a particular type of brush specifically for this because you don't want to damage your skin, and you brush towards your heart, I think. So try dry brushing, try skin scrubs, or sweating. Actually, at the time of recording this, I just posted on my stories about sweating and how I intentionally use sweating to release old energy. And I use it in my infrared sauna blanket to sweat out. And I decide beforehand, okay, this is the energy I'm ready to release from my body in my energy field, like the energy of shame or the energy of self-doubt, or it could be anything. And then when you sweat, either through saunas or through working out, or however, it's like releasing it through the pores of your body, and it's really an interesting practice. So there's these ideas of doing these things related to skin and body that will help you release. These are active things you can do, but be intentional about it and hold that intention. Like I said, if you're going to do dry brushing, which releases dead skin cells, or if you're going to do salt scrub or any of that, hold an intention, be intentional, make it a ritual, and say, I'm ready to release blank, and do it mindfully. And you can do this not because you hate this part of you that you want to release. Oh, I hate that I do this, or I hate that I do that. It's not a self-hatred thing. It's because you love yourself. And imagine now that your inner child is here with you. And imagine how much you love them. It brings tears to my eyes again. Imagine how much you love them and that you're doing this because you love them, because you love your pure, true self, and you are actively doing this to nurture and protect and uphold them. It's in devotion to them, right? It's like a parent who loves their child so much they would do anything to protect them and to uplift them and to support them, right? Oh, the tears are coming. It's funny because I don't feel sad. I just feel it so strongly. And tears are another form of release, by the way. So, this is about self love. All of this that I've been saying, it's about self love. So, consider, how can you reflect on this past? Reflection number one was, how has the past year changed you? That is an act of self love. Reflection two, considering what are the gifts from these changes of this past year. That is an act of self love. And reflection three, what is that last bit of skin you feel called to let go of? And doing that is an act of self love. Even if it's hard to find that self love for yourself, really see that inner child. It might be like a 5-year-old self, it could be a 13-year-old self. I have multiple versions of my inner child. You might too. This is an act of self love for them. All right, those are all the messages for you in this in-between phase. Next episode, I'm going to share messages about the fire horse. Actually, messages from the fire horse, I should say. There are messages about the new that are going to be very activating. It's like an activation. I can't wait to record that one next. If this episode sparked something within you, resonated with you, please rate the show, share it with people who you think would benefit from these messages. Comment, like the show, all the things to help support us so that we can continue creating and supporting you with the Truer podcast. Thank you. Love you. Bye. One more thing. I just want to tell you, I love you, and I'm proud of you for doing the inner work, for showing up, and for choosing a truer life. If this episode resonated with you, if it helped you access a deeper truth within yourself, then please share it with someone you love, because the world needs more of us living our truer lives. This has been a Truer Media production. The Truer podcast is created and produced by me, Katrina Slade. Music by Frequently Asked Music. Wordmark by Annika Samples of Incandescent Creative. Cover photography by Lucinda Richard. Time for the really short legal talk. This podcast is presented solely for educational purposes. I am your soul sister. I am a spiritual guide, but I am not a licensed physician, psychologist, or other qualified medical professional. I hope to see you again.